Have you guys done it yet?
All right, guys, we have a few minutes before service starts. I have a challenge.
Oh, what is it?
During first service, Weston, hello, not that Weston, it was a different Weston. Weston did something like 11 burpees, and I was curious, anyone here could beat 11 burpees?
I don't even know what that is.
Does anyone here know what a burpee is? Okay, we got 2, 3, 4. 4 people who know what burpees are? 5? Okay. Challenge time. You guys can show the rest of them what a burpee is, and then if anyone thinks they can do more than 11, they will win for the day. Hey, fatness has nothing to do with it. It's determination. All determination. If you don't know what a burpee is, you can just watch the first people to go, and then you'll learn and see maybe you think you can do something. We're going to do it right now. Okay, so if you know what a burpee is, come on out. Come here. Out in front. Weston, you don't need to. You already did your stuff.
Wait, can he show?
You're just giving me my keys back. Thank you.
Daniel, can you show us what it is?
Yeah, they're going to show you. They're going to show you.
I just showed Nate, so he can go for it.
Oh, okay. So everybody ready? At least watch so you know what a burpee is. And if you find out you think you can do one, then you can try and compete. Okay, so we're going to do it on count. Don't go over speed. I want you guys to do it at the same time as everybody else so that I can count all of you at once. Does that make sense? So go on my count. When I say go, do another one. When I say go, do another one. When I say go, do another one.
Why don't you just say now?
Does that make sense?
Why don't you just say now?
Because I like the word go. We're just going to see who can do the most burpees.
No one else?
No, I can't.
Okay. Maya's doing it. Maya's doing it.
Caleb, get up here.
Okay.
Save my
I
spot.
want to do it, Daniel. I just don't remember what it is.
We'll do multiple rounds. It's okay. Okay, you guys ready? You good?
I'll go.
I know. Because if he watches you and you watch him, then you're both being watched.
Yeah.
I totally trust you when someone's with you.
I feel like I'm gonna get so hot.
That's more than anyone else in this room. Just know that. That's more than anyone else in this room. The amount of trust. I'm not sure I trust anybody else even when they're being watched. Okay, you guys ready? On your marks. Get set. Go.
What's going on?
Go. Go.
Honestly, this is perfect.
Go.
Poor babies downstairs. Probably
Go.
freaking out.
By the way, slippers.
How are you doing?
Go.
Hey,
Go.
I'll do it if you do it. But you have to
do
go
a real push-up,
Go.
guys. Do a real push-up.
No, they're not. Yes.
I just ran roughly a mile. I can't do that many.
Maya. How long are we going to do it? I don't know.
Why does it seem like Nick was like going backwards?
Okay, I think that's the end of where it counts. Okay, so we're going to call that like 12 and a half. Because you barely left the ground that last one. But this is the interesting thing about burpees. It exercises so many muscles in your body at once that even if you're incredibly fit, it's really hard to go to a high number. It's not like push-ups where it's one muscle group in your whole body doing all the work. You can do a lot of those. Same with sit-ups. Sit-ups like one muscle group. You can just concentrate and you can do a ton. Burpees is like, I think, almost every single thing except the return muscles in your arms. So your curling muscles. It's kind of the only thing you're not exercising. Almost every other muscle in your entire body. Okay. Anyone else want to try and get to 12, maybe 13?
I'm going to try to get one.
I usually give up at 10. Like on a good day,
I'm going to try to get
I can get to 10, and then I'm like, it's not worth it anymore. I don't want to die.
You can
You can take off your shoes.
There is
I do ask that when you guys jump, you try and jump as softly as possible.
I gotta get this off. Okay, I'm scared.
Yeah, it counts. If you're ready.
You said that you would have it in. Where's your hair? How's this like?
Alright guys, right now let's
That's not how
try
that
to
works.
start betting
That's not how that
fail.
works. That's not how that works. You asked if my 11 count. I said yes, your 11 counts.
Are you doing it?
Yeah.
Oh my
You
god.
can't magically insert a separate 11 on top of your 11. Wait, that's different. Don't do that.
No, I'm warming up.
Oh, he's warming up. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So first thing you do is go to a crouch.
I'm already sore.
Second thing you do, kick your feet out to a push-up. So you don't walk out to a push-up, you kick to a push-up. Then you do the push-up.
Definitely
Then you reverse kick. You pull your legs under you into a crouch, and then you come up into a jump. Once you've done the jump, that's a 1. You did your count. So count after every landing from the jump. That's your counting. Okay. Are you guys ready?
No.
Nate's gonna go again.
I'm going again.
All right, guys, here we go.
I feel I'm gonna hit someone's head.
Yeah, I do too.
There's a kick. So
you can't like go out into a push-up. That doesn't count.
You have to like
That's cheating. You have to go down to a crouch and kick to a push-up.
Do it, Daniel. Do
Does that make
it.
sense?
Do it.
So if
Daniel,
you-
do
if
it
you
for
go
me.
to-
He just did.
I jump
As long as both feet at once and they're totally off the ground when they move back, you're good. Okay. Are you guys ready? So
Yeah.
remember, try and wait for my go to start the next one. So like you land from your jump, pause till we say go, and then you go down. Okay, you ready?
Wait. She's a
Almost.
crab hunter.
Almost. Almost. There we go. Okay, ready? Go.
Oh my god.
Go.
She already failed.
Go. If you go too fast, you're not getting counted. Go. Go.
Hunter's not even doing a push-up.
Go.
He's not been doing a push-up.
Go.
Yay! I'm so late.
Go. Go.
I'm just not even doing the push-up. Yes, I am.
Go.
Seriously, don't look at you.
Go.
I got a souvenir.
Go. Go.
I know. Hunter did
Go.
at that time.
You don't chicken, Hunter. Go. Oh, go.
Back up.
I have my money on you.
Oh, there we go. We're going to stop there. 15. I don't want you guys to die. I think Jeremiah might have been the only one staying in form.
Yeah, I was so different.
Hunter, a few of your kicks.
Wesley, where's my shoe?
Down.
He has
Where
it.
there was a crawl. Does that make sense? Where your legs were crawling out. It's a full kick because you gotta like lift your body out. That is more than I can do, so I think Jeremiah wins. No, we're not doing it. No, it's already here for 12 minutes.
We should do a handstand contest.
Yes.
Thank you for joining me in my aerobics.
So you just go like this.
It won't be that long.
What? Only like maybe.
Are you ready? Okay.
That did not work. No,
Do that.
Kicking makes it way better. The more burn in your muscles, the better.
Poor babies downstairs.
I
They're probably screaming right now, saying like,
can build a bridge.
"Wait, who's on the list?" The preschoolers. And the only way that, because like whenever we stop or something like that, they think it's actually scary. So basically, the teachers down there said, "Oh, it's just the elephants upstairs." And so all the kids now call us elephants. And it's just funny.
Is it a yes team Sunday?
Yes.
It is?
No,
What gave it away?
Lots of things. Number one, the yes team shirts. Number two, the amount of people. And number three, I already knew that it was
Did you
yes
guys
team
know it's
Sunday.
photo day?
It is?
Photo day
Yeah,
was
yes,
like
team
I
photo
love
day.
you.
We
did
did
photo.
photo.
We
We
already had it.
Last time.
We already had photo.
Yeah.
No, photo was
We
I
already had
think
photo.
2 months ago.
you didn't get your
2
photo.
months ago.
I remember.
I know the photographer. They're back again to do photos.
I'm all the naughty kids. What's your first?
Have fun with your photos that you didn't know about.
And Jiggy.
I like you first.
Would anyone like to volunteer to pray for us this morning?
Nope.
Thank you, Weston. What? Is there a hand I'm missing? I see people pointing.
Hunter.
No.
Hunter.
Oh, no.
I was
Weston.
the pointers.
I was like, I see pointing, but I don't see a hand. Makes sense. Okay, I'll do it.
Makes sense.
Cool. Thank you, Lord, for this morning and for this gathering, that we have the opportunity to get together and worship you and just learn more about you. I pray that you would reveal yourself to us and just help us to have a good day. This in your name, Jesus.
At least I don't think you're plugged in.
I'm not?
I'm not getting anything.
It sounds good though.
I'm plugged in.
It's coming through.
Is it? Do you guys hear it?
I hear it.
Yeah.
I hear it.
Not in the speaker.
Play and then cut.
Who's on diet? Who's on diet?
Yeah, it's coming through.
It's
It's
coming
quiet like.
Yeah, it's coming through.
Guys, there's a microphone about 8.5 inches from her
It-
guitar.
it works.
The microphone is picking up a little guitar,
It
but
just
there's
works.
no audio coming through the plug of the guitar.
Well, if it's not working, I could just go unplugged without the mic, so I'm not overpowering the guitar. We are having an intermission. Please stay in your seats.
It's just in the
I wanted to get
What?
popcorn. Must
Wait,
be.
is it intermission? The late?
Didn't make
Can I go?
sense. It's an
Technical-
intermission where you have to stay seated.
It should be good.
I know, but I'm kidding.
That's like the worst kind of interview.
Is it coming through?
Wait, no, you can't.
Yes?
Somehow no.
Somehow no.
Technical difficulties.
Sounds great.
No, this is all in stream too.
Oh, that's one.
It's like
That's okay.
I did the internet.
How's your hair? Here, want it back?
Yeah? Cool. Okay. Starting over. Thank you, Lord, for getting the sound working. From the highest of heights to the depths of the sea, creation's revealing your majesty. From the colors of fall to the fragrance of spring, every creature unique in the song that it sings, all exclaiming, indescribable, uncontainable. You place the stars in the sky and you know them by our knees as we humbly proclaim, you are amazing, God, who restored every lightning bolt where it should go, or seen heavenly storehouses laden with snow, who imagined the sun and gives source to its light, yet conceals it to bring us the coolness of night. None can fathom, indescribable, uncontainable. You place the stars in the sky and you know them by name. You are amazing, God, all powerful, untamable. Awestruck, we fall to our knees as we humbly proclaim, you are amazing, God, indescribable, uncontainable. You place the stars in the sky and you know them by name. You are amazing, God, incomparable, unchangeable. You see the depths of my heart and you love me the same. You are amazing, God, you are amazing, God. Hungry, I come to you, for I know you satisfy. I am empty, but I know your love does not run dry. So I wait for you. Oh, I wait for you. I'm falling on my knees, offering all of me. Jesus, you're all this heart is living for. Broken, I run to you, for your arms are open wide. I am weary, but I know your touch restores my life. So I wait for you. So I wait for you. I'm falling on my knees, offering all of me. Jesus, you're all this heart is living for. to satisfy. Water you turned into wine. Open the eyes of the blind. There's no one like you. None like you. Into the darkness you shine. Out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you. None like you. Our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Oh. Into the darkness you shine. Out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you. None like you. Our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Oh. And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? What could stand against? Our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Thank you, Lord, again for this morning and for this gathering, and I just pray that you would help us to be able to pay attention and just get a lot from the study. I pray this in your name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Yay. I thought everybody could say that. Come here. Give me one, please. Give me one, too. Please. Love you.
Alrighty, guys, grab your Bibles, open them up to Genesis.
Jen, be a man.
You see, this is why I grabbed my because then everyone else starts acting.
I'm a nice
Whether it was Isaac
Genesis.
I know we jumped today, but that doesn't mean you have to run with us.
do we really have to read the one?
Did anybody notice that their breathing was more rapid after they did burpees?
Yes, and I had to use a puff of my inhaler because I couldn't breathe. You were scared. Thanks, Daniel.
No one made you do burpees.
Well, you wanted us to do it, and I wanted everybody to do it.
There's a point where someone who has an inhaler and asthma should say, "You have asthma."
I forgot.
I'm not gonna do that.
She forgets all the time, and then she needs to use it.
Hey, exercise is still good. Sorry I had to use your inhaler. It was not my intent. Anyways, just a quick little bit of science for you. Do you guys know the phrase "burning fat"? Have you guys ever heard that phrase?
Yes.
Okay. Question for you: where does the fat go?
Bacon.
No. How does it leave your body?
By burning it.
It's not sweat.
Burning.
Your sweat is mostly made of water and electrolytes.
So,
You're just like,
The number one set of molecules in fat is carbon and oxygen.
breath. Carbon dioxide.
When you burn fat, quote unquote, burn, it's not really the right word, burning. It leaves your body in the form of air that you breathe out. Carbon dioxide. No. See, this is it. There's a thing called hyperventilating. And that's when you breathe more than your body needs. So that doesn't work. What you have to do is you have to do something that makes you breathe more. And that's how you lose fat. So if you ever wondered why there's a correlation between like exercise and like being fit and like getting fat off your body, it's that. It's because when you exercise enough that you have to breathe heavier, you lose fat right out of your mouth.
But a little bit also comes in your pee, too.
A little bit.
Yeah. Not much, but a little
Not
bit.
much. It's mostly what your body picks up where it shouldn't be. Okay. Yeah, question.
So when you exhale, you're losing weight.
Yeah. But the problem is air versus food. Which one weighs more?
air, definitely.
Air.
I mean, there's more
The
air
food
than
does.
food.
So the speed at which you can take in fat when eating food is much faster than the speed at which you can lose fat when you're breathing out. That's why you breathe out all day and you'll eat some. So if you can do anything to get your breathing up, that's how you lose weight.
So what if it's like a complete and total struggle to eat? Does that work?
Yeah. Stick the hamburger at the top of a flight of stairs and take one bite and then run back down, and then you'll puke. Wait,
Do it before your dog does.
That won't work.
Or cat.
Maybe like an ice cream cone on a treadmill, and you like run and take a lick. Run and take a lick.
Whoa.
Oh, would you fall?
That could work. Or you'll just fall face first into an ice cream cone. As long as you have a camera set up, totally worth it. Totally worth it. Okay, all of that aside, hi guys, I'm back. It's been like a month.
Yay.
We had a kid.
Wait, it's been a month since Wednesday?
Since last time I was here on a Sunday.
Oh.
Yeah. Emma, our daughter, was born on the 13th of December. And that makes her just over a month old now.
Wait, so you were born on Friday the 13th?
She was born on Friday the 13th under a full moon. She's officially a werebaby.
Jason.
What? I know, right?
I was accused of being a werewolf. And of vampire.
And a vampire? Like at the same time?
In Skyrim?
Because then if you bite someone, what happens?
They call me a vampire because I was born on Friday the 13th.
Because I think you have pointy teeth either way. It's kind of hard to tell. All right, so I've been gone for a long time. Donnie was here in my place. How was Donnie? Good. Mostly good. I heard one, and the rest were good.
That was fun.
Yeah, you
All right.
skipped a lot of goodness.
What did Donnie teach about?
He taught about stuff.
Luke?
No.
Stuff?
James.
Proverbs.
No.
Philippians.
Just gonna keep on. On Wednesdays, you guys did Philippians while I was gone. That was cool. You guys finished Philippians, didn't you?
Yep.
All right. So today we're gonna pick back up in Genesis where we left off. Last time I was here with you guys on a Sunday, we did 21. Genesis 21. So today we're gonna do
Wait, 25.
25. Good guess. Good guess. That is not how numbers work, though.
Daniel upside down.
They're not even in there.
Or are you up?
Oh, let that mess with your brain. Wait, does a straw have one hole? One hole or two holes?
Does anything have one holes?
If you drop soap, it's a floor cleaner. It's dirty because I can't clean the floor. Does a straw have one hole or two holes?
How much dirt is in the bottom of a hole?
A straw has one hole. Okay. I continue. Good job. This is supposed to be confusing.
These are hilarious little conversations. I love these. I slightly missed that.
It's like disgusting if the straw has two holes or one.
Oh, I know. It's just hilarious fun to watch.
It's just fun.
Wait, does it have
Yes.
one entrance and one exit?
What if it's not a hole?
Or two entrances and one exit?
Wait, I know.
I think she's right. I think it's more like a tunnel.
Yeah, it's more like a tunnel. Because it's one tunnel with one entrance and like two entrances.
But what if it's a one-way tunnel?
What if it's a two-way tunnel? What if it's a two-way tunnel with a train in it?
What? How did we get a ton of trains?
What if there's a maintenance elevator in the middle of the tunnel?
Oh.
No, because this opening. Yeah.
I know.
So call it 9. Let's round it off. Okay, guys. So Genesis. Where we left off in Genesis chapter 21 last month
No way.
was Isaac finally getting born.
The birth of life.
We've been waiting. We've been waiting since Abraham came on the scene for Isaac to be born. That's like one of the first promises that God made to Abraham. And that's like back in chapter 12. I mean, it was nearly 10 chapters before Isaac was born. That's a lot of just not having a kid.
That's sad.
So they finally had a baby in chapter 21, and then we left and had a baby. And then now we're back.
Wait,
And we all have babies.
wait, does that mean you're going to try to sacrifice that?
You gotta quit spoiling the story, okay, Wyatt? Or Weston, whatever your name is.
Yeah, but I already
With a
know the
double
story.
W.
Wyatt.
I don't know.
I mean,
Just
like,
double
the
W.
literally is
I'm bad with names. It is my shame. I will die this way.
Do you remember my name?
The chicken nuggets were good.
They call me
That's why you.
Weston Page.
I know. I saw you.
Do you remember my name?
No. It escapes me. And my own name. My name escapes me too.
Before you travel. If you know your name.
All right. We're gonna try and do what we usually do and have you guys read the verses.
Donnie had a
can't hear you.
one verse.
That's what we do. That's what I do.
Is the oldest the youngest?
Everyone's
because that was the
amount that we had.
Is the youngest the oldest?
13 people.
We're just gonna do one.
Oh, one verse. Let's go.
We're just gonna do one.
Nate's the oldest.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right, guys. He's gonna read, so try and be more polite to him than you were to me. Be quiet.
Verse 22.
22 verse 1.
He's only very quiet.
Sometime later, God tested Abraham's faith. Abraham got called. Yes, he replied, "Here I am. Take your son, your
Wait,
only."
that's verse 2.
What?
I know, we did.
Bruh.
Take your son, your only son, yes, Isaac, whom you love so much, and go to the land of Moriah. Go and sacrifice him as a burnt offering on one of the mountains, which I will show you.
Dan Weston. The next morning, Abraham got up early. He saddled his donkey and took 2 of his servants with him, along with his son Isaac. Then he chopped wood and fire for a burnt offering.
He chopped wood for a fire, which is easier than chopping fire.
set out for the place God had told him about.
On the 3rd day of their journey, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance.
Stay here with the donkey, Abraham told the servant. The boy and I will travel a little further. We will worship there, and then we will come right back.
Alright, pause. Wait, stop. Alright, so I know there was a little distraction on verse 2. Does everybody catch what happened on verse 2? Go back and read it if you missed it, okay? Go back and read it. Real quick, with your own eyeballs.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah! Okay, I'd like you to stop for a moment. Do a little mental exercise with me. Mental exercise, okay? So close your eyes. Close your eyes. Be a little bit sleepy. Now imagine you're at home. You're in your room. You're alone. And you're praying.
Home Alone? Let's go.
And you hear the voice of God. And after you get over your shock and amazement, and you're like, wow, that's awesome. Then God says, okay, I have a job for you.
Go get money.
I want you to take one of your close family members, and he probably names which one, okay? I want you to take one of your close family members. I'd like you to go on a hike with them.
And kill them.
To a certain mountain. And then, please cut their throat open and light them on fire.
Wait, that means they die slowly.
And then God signs off.
Drop the mic.
Literal radio silence after that. Okay, now, since this is mental exercise, don't all tell me your answer, but I need you to think about this question. I need you to come up with the answer. Okay, don't tell me the answer, just think about the answer. What is the first thing you do? Don't tell me, think about it. Don't tell me, think about it. What's the first thing you do after that conversation with God where he cuts it off at, I'd like you to take them on a hike, cut their throat, light them on fire? Why are you telling me?
Sorry.
Don't tell me. I need you to think about it. I need you to know what you would do. Okay.
Mike, who we would
Now, please, on a scale of 1 to 10, rank yourself.
10.
1 being completely freeze up, do nothing. You go catatonic, no movement, your breathing gets shallow, everyone's worried about you.
Wait.
That's 1. Okay, on the scale of 1 to 10, that's 1.
Why are they all worried about you?
Shh. 1. 10. You go to the person that God mentioned, you take them, you gather wood, you get a knife, you light a torch, you go on a hike with them to that mountain, and you start up that mountain. That's 10. On a scale from 1 to 10, where was your answer you already thought of?
10.
So tell me the number.
10.
9.5.
9.5?
7.3.
11.
1.
This is a 10. I was saying 3.
11.
11. That's a little scary. I build a rocket. I strap them to the rocket. I point it at the mountain.
Despicable me.
That's 11. All right. I gotta say, Abraham going all the way to 10, not even asking a question. You know what? Honestly, that's me. I'm like back there at like 2 or 3. God tells me I need you to sacrifice them. I'm back there at 2 or 3 going, I'm sorry, why? I'm gonna need you to explain that. Like, I can't cross this bridge unless I know where this bridge goes. I don't care if he named Emily.
I'm gonna need you to
or Jane, or Emma, I'm gonna struggle following through with that request.
What about your dog?
I don't have a dog.
What about
It'd be real easy. He's like, take your dog. Okay.
I don't have a dog.
Think? All right, so I want you to think about this though. This is the Abraham we've been reading about, right? It's the same guy. And the Abraham we've been reading about, the Abraham we've been reading about is not the guy who just says, okay, cool, I'll do it, no questions. The Abraham we've been reading about is like, oh, you're going to go visit Sodom? Please let me beg for a few minutes before you leave this spot. Like, that's the Abraham we know. That's the Abraham we're used to. God, somehow gets the message to him through one escaped guy. Your nephew got kidnapped with a whole town. Abraham's like, he doesn't fall to his knees and pray. He doesn't say, God, I know you have it all in hand. He's like, get the troops! We gotta get them! He's this man of action who always wants to have control in his hands. Abraham, he wants control in his hands. He's going into a foreign land. His wife is pretty. Everyone likes pretty girls, and he's afraid that someone's going to kill him and steal his wife. And instead of being like, God, is this a good idea? What should I do? God, protect me. Any of those options, he's like, I know. I'll create a fanciful lie that will fix literally nothing and create new problems. But it will be my plan. That is the Abraham we know. So what does that tell you?
He's dumb.
Well, not just what we know about him from the past, but I mean what we know about him from the past and now suddenly what he's doing today, chapter 22. Do you understand what I'm getting at here? This is a change. This is not the same guy anymore. He's changed. So what kind of change? That's really the big question. From where he was to where he is now in chapter 22, what is the change? If you have like the RPG of Abraham's life, which stat has grown? Which little bar has increased? Where did he level up? Like, what is going on in this guy's life?
His hair turned to gray.
His what?
Hair turned to gray.
His hair turned to gray. He is older, I'll give you that. He might have been gray before. I don't know.
He has a child.
He has a child. I think you're getting close, but that's not quite it.
So it's it, but not that.
Yeah, he's like moving in the right direction. Anybody else?
He has a family.
Yes. He has responsibility. That's true. I think he
controllable.
always did. It's different now. But he did before because he had hundreds of people working under him. Employees, servants, slaves, all that. Anybody else? Yes.
That he finally knows that God's actually going to fulfill his plan, so he believes in him more.
Yeah.
No way.
That is exactly it. Guys, the kid we're talking about, the kid that he brings up on that mountain, Isaac, is a kid that's been promised for decades. Now, when I promise you something, we've used this analogy before, but when I promise you something, if you have to wait a while, you start to doubt my promise.
Yes, sir.
If you have to wait a year, you start to think I forgot about you. If you have to wait 2 years, you probably don't want to talk to me anymore.
20.
Abraham had to wait over 20 years. At that point, you start to doubt hardcore, and he did. There's evidence of his doubts. But then when the promise comes true after like 25 years, suddenly you're like, oh,
Nice.
Oh.
wait a second. Wait, are you telling me the plan was wait 25 years? Like the plan the whole time was wait 25 years? So like God didn't just promise me a kid and it took him 25 years to make it happen. Like God promised me a kid and he was always intending for 25 years to be the amount of time I was going to wait.
I think Diana, that's 25 years.
That means his ability to plan, God's ability to like set things up is impossibly good. I can't set anything up 25 years in advance. Guys, you aren't even 25 years old. How are you going to set something up 25 years in advance that involves humans with free will? Like, that's not even possible. We have to keep writing new laws every few years because we can't set anything up 25 years in advance. You can't plan nothing that long. But then God goes, I can. There's a further promise with Isaac, though. Isaac was not just a kid because Abraham wanted a kid. I mean, he did, but that wasn't it. God said, I'm going to give you this one particular kid, and he will be the one through which an entire nation is born.
So you wouldn't kill him?
See, that's where it gets interesting. If everyone is supposed to come from Isaac, Isaac has to at least have a kid for God's promise to truly come true. At least one to carry on the family line. And at this point, he's not married and he has no kids.
Ooh.
At this point in the story, does anyone know how old Isaac is?
12. 6.
You already know the answer.
9.
Yes.
Wait, 2?
Two?
3.
We haven't read that key verse yet, have we?
No, I don't know.
Yeah. Verse 6. Who's got verse 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Read verse 6, and this will give you a hint.
Alright,
Abraham
looks like
placed
the
wood.
He's able to talk.
Read the verse.
So Abraham placed the wood for the burnt offering on Isaac's shoulders, while he himself carried the fire and the knife. As the two of them walked on together,
Oh, and then 7.
There's 8 and there's 6.
It's right at the end of 6's paragraph.
Isaac turned to Abraham and said, "Father?" "Yes, my son," Abraham replied. "We have the fire and the wood," the boy said, "but where's the sheep for the burnt offering?"
Okay, so this is how old he is. He's old enough to talk, and he's old enough to carry firewood. Now, firewood
21.
is not a couple of sticks.
15.
I know how
Okay?
old he is.
Firewood is not a couple of sticks, so I wouldn't go with, like, you know, a young kid.
It would be
But
big blocks.
teen years, maybe later teen years, is
Maybe
possible. We do actually have a range to work with, though, because we know
I know the range.
we know how old he was
What's
back
that?
when Ishmael left, and that already happened in the story. And we know how old he is when Sarah dies, and we know that happens later in the story. So we know he's somewhere in the middle of these two events, and we know he was around 7 back when Ishmael left, and we know he's around 37 when his mom dies. So he's in this window, somewhere in 737. He's old enough to talk, and he's old enough to carry firewood.
21.
That's what we know.
Do anyone?
Could be teens, could be 20s, could even be 30s. Maybe that's pushing it. I don't know.
He's so
7 and
old.
37.
He's smart enough to ask questions. He's big enough to carry firewood. Those are the facts. Okay, so not 2. That was what I was getting at. But we hadn't read those verses yet, so you couldn't really know. All right, guys. There's coming a point in the story where Isaac is going to have the chance to fight back, to make his own decision, or not fight back. I'm a little curious. Would any of us here trust our own dad that much?
Nope.
No. Just slit my throat.
I love my dad. Please do not misunderstand me. I absolutely love my dad. He was an amazing father to me the whole time I lived under his roof. He's continued to be an amazing father to me, even as I've been out of the house. But if he tied me up and stuck me on a barbecue and raised a knife up over my head, I might think something bad was about to happen.
Yep, yes sir.
As opposed to my dad loves me. You know, like that might not be the thought in my head anymore. There's that point. You know, like if it was a movie, the knife comes down and cuts the ropes. You know what I mean? That's not really what you're thinking though, when you're the one looking up at the knife. Likewise, I hope you don't trust me like that.
Nope.
If I said we're gonna play a game today, we're gonna play a game. You guys ready? Let's play a game. Caleb, come on! I need a volunteer. Come on up, Caleb. We're just gonna lightly tie your wrists and feet together with some rope. Ready? I've got the stack of wood all prepared. It's like a bed. Come lay on it, Caleb.
Can I be the test subject?
And then I need someone else. Can you hold this knife? Thank you.
I will.
And then here, can you get this torch lit? Thank you very much. At some point in a game like this, please tackle me, okay? Something's wrong. Don't trust what I'm saying. Like, this is a bad setup. You should not go along with it. Do not keep watching going like, Daniel's so funny. He's hilarious. Tackle me. Put me on the ground. Don't let me up. Go get adults. Like, this whole situation, I don't know if she's in on it. You might want to double check, you know.
Emily, are you in on this?
She is.
Okay.
There is a point where trust can go too far if it's not earned. If trust is earned, that's good. If
Friends.
trust is blindly given, not as good. So, if you feel like you trust me like that, great. I don't know why, but cool. Good for you. But what we're able to tell from this is Abraham has trust in God, and Isaac has trust in Abraham. But look at the answer. I love the answer. Oh, so good. Okay. Verse 9.
8.
Did we skip 8?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Verse 8. That's the one I love.
God will provide the sheep for the burnt offering, my son. Abraham answered, and they both walked on together.
Let's keep reading for a little bit, okay? Hunter, you got 9.
When they arrived at the place where God had told him to go, Abraham built an altar and arranged the wood on it. Then he tied his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood.
And Abraham picked up the knife to kill his son as a sacrifice. At that moment, the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham.
Don't lay a hand on the
Oh,
boy.
wait. There's a little bit more to 11. It's on the top of the next
I
line.
was gonna keep reading.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, Abraham replied, here I am.
Don't lay a hand on the boy, the angel said. Don't hurt him in any way. For now I know that you truly fear God. You have not withheld from me even your son, your only son.
Okay, stop. Did Isaac fight back?
Yeah. It's like, if I die, I'm in danger.
Daddy, I'm in danger. This is fun.
I'm gonna go to heaven.
He allows himself to be tied up.
Daddy, look, I
Now,
cried.
stop for a minute. Remember, this is the guy who's old enough, big enough to carry wood on his back, firewood. And this is Abraham, who's old enough to be your grandpa twice over. He's like 110? 120?
Probably 100.
He was 100 when Isaac was born. So whatever age Isaac is, just toss 100 on top of that. So I don't care if you're 12 and you're not that big and you're not that strong. Your dad's 112. You can take him. Get it? Like if you're 10, that doesn't sound like good odds until you realize your dad's 110. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah. You could just hand him the firewood and he'll fall over and break 9 bones on the way down. Hey, Dad, hold this. It's not that hard. Isaac chose not to fight back. Do you understand what that means?
Yes.
It's like the level of trust. Caleb didn't trust me, and I was pantomiming. I didn't even have rope in my hands, and he wouldn't come up here. He's like, no, it's weird. Isaac just let his dad tie him up.
Let's play catch.
I'm betting the 120-year-old
Here,
guy.
catch the fire. Catch the torch.
I'm betting the 120-year-old guy did not lift Isaac onto the altar.
Try
Try and picture that in your head, right? Stack of rocks and firewood, as tall as a table, and there's like the 20-something tied up with rope, and the 120 guy. And how does the 20-something get on the altar?
He probably lays down there. And
He has to climb on. Is this sinking in? Like, he didn't just let his dad tie him up. He's now climbing under the barbecue himself. This is trust on a whole nother level. Now, if you're really picturing this and you really you know what the relationship between child and father should be like, this should feel a little sick. Because if the trust that they have isn't present, then it's a little twisted and gross. However, their trust is not just blind, I don't care what happens. Their trust is actually rooted in God, and God made a promise. And the promise was Isaac was going to give birth to an entire nation. His descendants, Isaac's, not just Abraham's, Isaac's descendants were going to become a nation, and that hasn't happened yet. And what's interesting about this whole chapter is that you get like a look into God's motives. You go back to verse 1 and it says it right at the beginning. Sometime later, God tested Abraham's faith. So we know why God's doing this. God is doing this. Why?
Trust.
To test Abraham's faith. Okay, cool. We got his motives. Then we see Isaac's motives. he's like, Dad, what are we doing? And Dad explains, and he just goes along with it. So it's trust in his dad. We get that. We hear some. The most you get out of Abraham, into his inside thoughts and his motives and his what he's thinking right now is this. The very end of verse 5. That's the most you get. Go back to verse 5, the very end. It says, we will worship there, and then we will come right back.
Liar.
Hold on a second. He said we. We will come right back. There's only two guys going up that mountain. It's Abraham and Isaac. We. So what does that mean?
From the start.
He'll get his ashes and put
I don't know how, Hunter, but your brain is able to make these logical leaps that all of us miss. You're right. He could mean dead we. You know, like me and dead Isaac are coming back. He could. Hadn't thought of that.
It's a pile of ashes in a bowl.
Yeah, and you know what? He might have a hard time carrying the body of Isaac, but he probably wouldn't have a hard time carrying the ashes of Isaac. They weigh a lot less once all the fat burns off.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Full circle. All right, so I don't think that's what he meant. But kudos, you really probed that to the full depth there.
Hunter's eyes are scary.
Here's why I think I know what he means. Here's why. Not because of this chapter. Not because of anything in the Old Testament, actually.
Of his faith.
It's all the way in the New Testament.
Revelation.
There's this book called Hebrews. You guys ever heard of Hebrews?
I've heard about the Jewish.
Do you guys know about Hebrews?
No.
Okay, so
How Moses made his
Hebrew.
1016.
yeah, thank you. You found it. It's even chapter 11, like I need. Well done, sir.
So smart.
Okay, so page 1016 if you want to read it with me. Otherwise, I'll just read it out loud. You can listen. Chapter 11, verse 17. It was by faith that Abraham offered Isaac as a sacrifice when God was testing him. Abraham, who had received God's promises, was ready to sacrifice his only son, Isaac, even though God had told him, Isaac is the son through whom your descendants will be counted.
Wait,
Abraham. We were reading 17. So far, we've made 17 and 18. Now we're going to read 19.
Okay.
Abraham reasoned that if Isaac died, God was able to bring him back to life again.
That's what I was thinking.
And in a sense, Abraham did receive his son back from the dead. Because he was sentenced to death, and then that sentence was removed. Right? So he was destined to die, and then God changed the destiny.
So basically,
So it's not literal, it's just in a sense. So this gives us insight into what Abraham was thinking. Abraham was thinking, God is testing me. I will pass this test. God would like me to sacrifice that which I hold most dear, so I will. And I know that God has said this man will live on to give an entire nation its start, and he's in charge of all things, including life and death. So even if he asks me to kill him, he's going to make the promise come true. Why does he have this amount of faith? Because for 25 years he waited and doubted, and after 25 years God made the promise come true. The last promise, that he would have a son. And after he saw that promise come true, despite ridiculous odds, I mean, his wife was 90. Most 90-year-old women do not give birth. That is not something that should
Wait,
happen.
so he was 112 or 100? Oh.
He was 100. He was 100. She was 90.
Oh. 10 years older?
Let's not dwell too much on the pain of childbearing.
Okay, that was.
So the point was, he already saw miracles take place. Now his doubt is disciplined. I don't think Abraham ever got over doubt. I don't think humans ever get over doubt. But Abraham was able to discipline his doubt. That's where you take your doubt, you look it square in the face, and you say, you know what?
You suck.
Well, that too. God's bigger than you. You're real. I really do doubt things. I'm not sure. I question.
I like my own.
But God's bigger than you.
I am my own.
God can beat this doubt. God can come through in this circumstance. And that's what Abraham grew in. He was able to look his doubt square in the face and go, God will find a way. I know he can. I don't know what will happen, but I know he can find a way. So God stops him. He sends that angel. Remember earlier Abraham's answer to Isaac's question? His answer earlier was, God will provide the lamb for the sacrifice. And then check out what happens. Verse 13 is... Taylor or Sonia?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, shoot.
Then Abraham looked up and saw a ram caught by its horns in a thicket. So he took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering in the place of his son.
And Abram called the name of the place, "The Lord will provide," and as it is said to this day, "In the mount of the Lord it shall be provided."
Then the angel of the Lord called again to Abraham from heaven.
Oh, we're kind of skipping the whole back row, aren't we? Do you want to read... Where are we at? 16? Is that where we're at?
Yeah.
Do you want to read? Sure. Okay. All right. 16.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
This is what the Lord says, because you have obeyed me and have not withheld even your son, your only son, I swear by my own that.
I know, mid-sentence, not even a comma. What the heck? All right, go ahead, Trinity. You got 17.
I will certainly bless you. I will multiply your descendants beyond number, like the stars in the sky and the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will conquer cities of their enemies.
And through your descendants, all the nations of the earth will be blessed, all because you have obeyed me.
Shit.
Then they returned to the servants and traveled back to Beersheba, where Abraham continued to live.
What?
You sure? Okay. Who's behind you? You want to read one? 20? Now we get the fun ones.
Oh, I want to read one.
Soon after this, Abraham heard that
Milka.
Yeah, his brother Nahor's wife had born Nahor 8 sons.
Go for it, Weston.
The oldest was named Uz. The next oldest was Buzz. Buzz Lightyear. Followed by Cuneo, the ancestor of the Arameans.
And then 22?
I say
Can you do it?
I say
It's just names.
I say Buzz.
Can I do it?
Go take this.
Yeah, cassettes.
I say
Like
Buzz.
the next son being
He's trying really hard, guys. Give him some respect.
Hazel, Hilda, and
Yeah, good job.
Congratulations.
You did really good.
You got
I think
A plus on the
Jidlaf
test.
was the only one you got wrong, but like everything else was dead on. Well done. Okay. And then 23?
That Shemuel became the father of Rebekah, in addition to his 8 sons of Milcah.
Nahor had 4 other children from his concubine Rumah. Their names were Teba, Gaham, Tahash, and Maacah. whenever you do 2 in a row, you have to make a double chin. That's a rule. That's a double A. All right. Well done. Well done. All right. Who can still do a burpee right now?
I can.
I'll try again.
I'll try
I had to create an advantage for myself.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Because I'm old.
I can do one.
While I was gone, I turned 32.
What? Happy birthday!
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. But now that I am
Happy birthday to you!
now that I am like more than twice the age of a
I
middle
brought
schooler.
it for you.
I need to have an advantage. So I made you guys do burpees first, and now you guys can burpee race me.
Yes!
Yeah. So wait. Burpee race is different from a burpee marathon. So burpee marathon is like how many can you do. Burpee race is how fast can you do a set number of burpees.
So like
Does
5.
that make sense?
10.
So we're just gonna do. I think 5 is good.
Okay,
5 's
yes.
good. We're gonna do 5 burpees. Fast you can. Oh, and also don't put your Bibles away. We're not done. Alright, you guys ready? Are you sure you want to do this? You've already used your asthma once this morning.
Yeah, I can take 2 puffs of my inhaler, so I took 1, so I'm good. I know.
We have this on documented record. I tried to talk her out of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good.
Are you guys ready?
I'm fine. Kind
Here we
of.
go.
It's a push-up contest.
So I need some judges. All you who are not burpeeing, I need you to help judge. You gotta watch those knees. Watch those feet. When they go down, you make sure they're kicking all the way out. They're not doing none of this walking up stuff. Okay?
Come back.
None of that. And when they jump, it's gotta be straight up and down. Straight up and down. If you're tall enough to hit the ceiling, just cross your arms over your head.
What do you
I want
do?
to see.
Ceiling
Put your arms up.
I can't.
I'm so close.
Yes.
I'm so close to touching the state line.
Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Alright, so we're gonna go.
Are you doing it?
We're gonna go to 5 and you count while you're in the air. That's the easiest way to not mess up. You count while you're in the air, okay?
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go.
1, 5, 6, 7.
On your marks. Get set. Go.
Go.
1,
I can't know what's
2,
going on.
3,
I'm not looking.
4.
Hey, you're crawling.
5.
I can't. Yeah, that's
I can't.
Wednesday
one. You know, I said it before.
No.
Alright guys, have a seat.
Who won?
I can't.
That was wrong. First, I said something from the snack bar.
The jumps are getting easier. Push-ups are not getting
I
easier.
won. I won. Do I get something for a snack bar?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
What? Wait, Daniel, I said done before Weston did, and I was done.
Do you have any judges who want to verify this?
I
You weren't playing.
I was watching.
I'll watch you.
I was paying attention. Maya jumped up, got down, and then Weston later said yes.
Saying done has nothing to do with it.
Okay,
It's the actual
landed.
burpee.
Oh, what?
She said it before me, but I did it before.
No, I was done before you.
Alright, I'll give you both the prize. You did really good.
Wait, what about me?
You were not.
Wait,
Alright.
don't get a prize.
Yeah, I just did both. Alright guys, listen up.
I'm listening.
Be quiet.
I'm listening.
There's a few things I want you to notice in this chapter. We're going to skim back through and just pick out a few little nuggets. First up, verse 2. It says, take your son, your only son.
I kill him.
Do you guys know of any other circumstances where a father has an only begotten son?
Jesus.
God.
Jesus has an only begotten son?
God.
God.
The next question he asks, you can say
My
Jesus.
dad.
Does anybody know where Mount Moriah is?
Yes.
Where's Mount Moriah?
In Mount Moriah.
It's the mountain that Solomon's temple was built on.
I know
It's the mountain that Solomon's temple was built on.
Okay, if you don't know,
And the one
don't
where
give
David
a
sacrificed.
silly fake answer. That's
I do. I do.
silly.
I know. I know.
Are you going to give the full backstory or are you just going to give the short answer?
I'll give all the way from David to Jesus. And then to the temple.
Maybe not that, maybe a little shorter.
Okay.
That's
It's the temple that David sacrificed on, and that Solomon's temple was built on, and also the same one that Jesus was crucified on.
Yeah. That's Mount Moriah. It's where Jerusalem eventually was built. But at this point in history
Well, I
with
said from
Abraham,
David to Jesus.
there's no Jerusalem yet.
Sacrifice.
Mount Moriah is the same place right in Jerusalem where David, originally living there as king, he does a bad thing, and the punishment was really bad, and the angel of death was passing through all of Israel, and David goes down to one spot where the angel stops, because he prays, and God says to the angel, stop, hold up a second, pause. And David goes down to where he paused and makes a sacrifice on that spot. To do so, though, he had to buy the spot. It wasn't his. So he finds the guy who owns the spot, he buys the spot, he buys oxen, he buys wood, he sacrifices right then, right there, and the angel just quits. And that's it. Angel goes home. No more punishment. The punishment is taken away on that spot.
Wait,
It's pretty cool. So it keeps going though. He owns that spot now. The king owns that spot. He bought it fair and square. And he gives it to his son, and he says, that's the spot where you should build the temple. So Solomon builds the temple there, and once the temple's built there, instead of going to the tabernacle to make sacrifices, going to the tabernacle to pay for sins and to get rid of punishment, they come to the temple on the same spot where David made his sacrifice. And the temple is on the edge of Jerusalem, and it's got a hill coming out of it. It's right where it's built. And off of the temple, you would have been able to see the spot they call Golgotha, where
Jesus died
on a
Is
cross.
it also called Skull Hill and Calvary?
It just depends on which language.
Calvary Mountain.
Yeah, you're just rifling the language when you do that. Golgotha, Calvary, Skull Hill, those are all the same thing.
I was thinking people riding
Hey guys, crushing your can right in the middle of service, not a good idea. Thank you. It doesn't actually matter. It's still during. Just during service. Okay, fine, during.
The end.
So this spot starts with Abraham, and what's being asked of him? Let go of your only son. Allow him to die. And that carries on. It becomes the spot of sacrifice. For hundreds of years between Solomon building the temple and Jesus dying on the cross, this was still the same spot where they sacrificed lambs again and again and again. Why? To
Where's
remove
Jesus?
the punishment for sin. To take away the punishment. So God starts this thing with Abraham right here on this spot. He brings him to this specific hill, and then it becomes important as time goes on. Keep going though. You go down to verse 6, and then it says, Abraham placed the wood for the burnt offering on Isaac's shoulders. Can you think of any other time in the Bible where someone has to carry wood on their back? And maybe that wood has something to do with how they die. Yeah.
Jesus carried the cross on his back.
Yeah.
And
But
then
so,
they put it in the
Until his
ground,
body
and
gave
then they
out.
hung him.
He carried that cross on his back. Let's see,
Great.
what else? Oh yeah, then there's the fact that Isaac doesn't fight back. Isaac
Jesus.
just lets the whole. You could stop. You could. Isaac doesn't fight back. He allows this whole thing to happen, even though in a situation of a 20-something versus 120-something, you have the power. You have the power to fight back. Now, interesting to look at Jesus' situation, because Jesus wasn't hung on the cross by like a 120-year-old gray-haired, falling apart old man. Jesus was hung on the cross by like trained soldiers. Jesus was hung on the cross, and there was like backup. If he busted up a few jaws, like they just send in more troops. He gets subdued. So I have a question: could Jesus have fought back enough to avoid the cross?
Wait,
Yeah.
but then who committed sin? What did he?
Is it a sin to defend yourself?
He's
If it kills
Jesus, of
someone.
course he could
It's a
have.
sin to kill someone.
Do you guys remember when Satan went and tested Jesus in the wilderness?
Yeah.
For bread. Yes.
For bread.
For bread.
Wait, what?
I'll just
Ayla's hungry.
bread.
We don't fault you for that. I understand.
Gambling with bread?
It's getting close to lunchtime. So
This?
I can't. Cornbread's good.
Cornbread's good.
You know what's best?
My mom's cornbread.
Corn muffins.
Wait, what?
Because then you get all edge. all the crunchy bits. Okay.
I'm hungry now.
I just love one bread. Bread.
Only garlic bread?
Just
only garlic. It's the only good bread.
Garlic bread's good. I like garlic.
All right, guys, come on back. Come on back from Breadland.
Garlic.
I know it's hard.
Garlic. Sourdough bread. It's like all. It's like dying inside now.
Do you have a soul?
Or you met a
Like you. Just want to torture everyone here, don't
I
you?
ask myself that question every day.
And the answer is always. I just don't know. That's my favorite.
We're all hungry, man. All right, so let's get done and get out of here, guys. I just have a little bit more to say on this. Jesus doesn't fight back, even though he could have. Jesus didn't just have the power to like punch a guy in the jaw. Jesus had ultimate power. When he came to earth, it might look like at times like he laid his power down and he had none of his heavenly gifts and abilities and all that creative force. But that's not really what we see if we dig in a little deeper. As you keep watching Jesus' story, you see stuff like Satan tempting in the wilderness, where Satan doesn't just say, disobey God. That's not his temptation. He says, work a miracle that's crazy awesome. And that's not really a temptation unless you can do it. Like if Satan came to me and said, hey, Daniel, command the angels to catch you, Daniel. I'd be like, I can't. That's the end. That's all I have to say. Like 2 words.
I can't.
Sorry to disappoint you, Satan. I can't do that. Daniel, turn rocks into bread, Daniel.
So what is Satan?
I've never been able to do that, Satan. I don't know what you're talking about. So like that wouldn't be a temptation. I wouldn't struggle with that. Like, it was so hard to tell him. I can't. Like, that wouldn't be difficult. But Jesus was in the desert with him, and Jesus says that kind of, Satan says that kind of stuff. Satan says, turn the rocks into bread. That's only a temptation if you can turn rocks into bread. That's the only time. He says, jump off this precipice and have the angels catch you. That's not a temptation for most of us. Most of us are like, no, I don't want to jump off that. I'll die. It's only a temptation if Jesus actually has the power to make the angels catch him. Does that make sense? Like, it only works that way. Then later you see him actually use some force, and it's all as like a sign to show something about God. And one of my absolute favorite ones is right when he's getting arrested. And it perfectly proves he did not have to go to the cross if he didn't want to. If he wanted to fight back, he can fight back. Because all he had to do was open his mouth and say his own real name.
Jesus.
No, that's English. That's not his original. He had a name.
Jesus.
He had a name that he spoke from heaven to his people thousands of years before, and he says it in the garden as he's getting arrested. And for us in English, it translates to "I am."
Oh, I just get it. I am Jesus.
He says this, and it physically knocks an entire 100 troop battalion, whatever you call it, on their butts.
That's interior.
Just because he said his name. I got a cool name. I like it. But
I am.
It's never done anything like that. Have you ever introduced yourself? Oh, what's your name? Daniel. And they just they're trying to grab your hand because they don't want to shake it. They just want to hold on to something. That never happens to me. I've not had that experience.
Daniel.
So, if Jesus is getting arrested, it's because he's letting them arrest him. If Jesus is being wrongfully convicted, it's because Jesus is letting them convict him. If Jesus is getting beaten up, it's because Jesus is letting them beat him up.
Thank you.
If Jesus is getting a crown of thorns jammed on his head, ripping his scalp apart, it's because Jesus is letting them do it. Do you follow that at any point in this process, he didn't need to have the strength to fight? He only had to say his name. That's it.
Are you all like tip top?
Do you know what they did to Jesus?
Yeah, they
killed
persecuted him. They tortured him.
They blindfolded him, and they took turns just slugging him in the head. In the head?
Why would they blindfold him?
That wasn't enough. They took sticks and hit him in the head. But that was after they put the crown of thorns on the head.
So
he's wearing the crown of thorns when they beat him with sticks. So yeah, when I do my little pantomime for what it would look like to fight back, it wouldn't be you at full strength like taking up a boxing pose. This is you blindfolded with nails going into your head that have been hidden with sticks. If you try and fight back, you're not going to be all steady on your feet.
You're gonna be all right.
You're half dead. You're already half dead.
I didn't actually mean to fall.
But my point was, he doesn't need to be able to lift his fingers to fight. It's Jesus. He has all the power in heaven. He could just uncreate them.
Be gone.
That's probably like the easiest thing he could possibly do.
It's like, you gone.
Don't exist anymore. The wall of this building doesn't exist anymore.
Daniel, I want to ask you. Maybe Thanos is just going to this.
Did you guys notice what Abraham named the place? He didn't name it Moriah. He named it The Lord Will Provide.
Oh, nice.
And then it became a proverb. People kept on saying it about that spot. They kept on talking about that hill. They kept on saying, on the mountain of the Lord, on Mount Moriah, it will be provided. They turned his name around. They turned it around. And it became not just a proverb, but a prophecy. Because that's the hill where God provided the sacrifice for all of you guys. Isn't that cool?
Wait, if Jesus didn't die, then wouldn't we still have like...
We'd have a big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd all be responsible for our own sin debt. We would all still owe everything. So, I bring all this to your attention because I want you guys to understand when God set up his nation, he picked a certain person, and he didn't just pick willy-nilly. And then once he picked, he actually had to get that guy ready to start his nation. And so he put Abraham through a test, and he didn't make him finish it. But he put him through it, and it was the same thing God was going to go through. See, that's a weird thing, because most fathers don't ever have to choose whether or not to give up their son. And most sons will never have to willingly say, I'll die. Take me. Usually doesn't happen. So most people will never know what God went through. They'll never understand what it means to willingly give up your child. And they'll never understand what it means to willingly say, I'll die in their place. But Abraham knew what it was like to be the father in that scenario, and Isaac knew what it was like to be the son in that scenario. And they got to start God's nation, having felt that, having gone through that. They knew what God was going to have to go through. And the nation is the one who Jesus comes from. And the nation, this is the trippiest part, is the one who is crying out, kill him, kill him, kill him. Do you understand? Like, that's who cries out for Jesus' blood? The Romans put him to death, but they didn't care. They weren't, like, hateful of Jesus. It was God's chosen people.
What?
It was God's nation. The Israelites that were crying out, kill Jesus. So I think that's kind of cool that God set it up by saying this is how bad it's going to be. And then it got that bad. And it all happened back on the same spot. It all happened on the same spot on the whole planet. And that's weird. It's a big planet. So, why do I mention all of this? Because I don't want you guys to think that God just randomly asks people to do stupid things. Like, you know your brother, I need you to sacrifice him.
I don't know.
Like, that moment's never going to come. Do you understand? Like this is not God on any random Tuesday just visiting a friend of his. How's it going? Need you to sacrifice a family member. Cool. Thanks. Get on that. That's not what God's doing here. God chose one specific guy in all of human history to walk through this. And he did it for a very important reason. And that's it. He's never going to ask for that again. And on top of that, God never intended for Isaac to die. When he asks for him to kill him, he's not waiting for Isaac to die. He's waiting for Abraham to get to the last moment so he can see which decision he's going to make. So that's something you've got to remember about God, because this story is kind of a brain twister if you look at it lightly. God's actually against child sacrifice. Like, he's a lot against it.
Abortion?
Like a lot. There actually were religions back in their day.
I killed babies.
They killed babies. That was like the religion.
Chinese.
I don't know about that one, but Baal worship was the one that was in the Bible.
Oh.
People who worship Baal would routinely sacrifice children. It was part of the religion. And God was so against it that he said, kill the people who follow the religion, don't marry anyone who follows the religion, kick them out of the land, get rid of them. It's evil. So when he comes to Abraham and says, I want you to sacrifice your child, you know something's off. Like, you know something's out of whack. And so I just wanted you guys to understand, like, he's never going to ask you to do something that style. That's not his nature. He was doing it as a test, and that was it. And the other side of it is, Isaac was willing, Jesus was willing. Those religions like Baal worship, they never ask the kid. They never go home to like their 3 kids and go, which one of you wants to be sacrificed? That was never part of it. So Isaac being willing, Jesus being willing, totally separates these things.
Where's Jimmy? Oh, he got sacrificed.
He raised his hand. He didn't know why he raised his hand, but he raised his hand.
Fine.
It counts.
He's okay.
He's in heaven, guys.
So Isaac being this whole type for Jesus really gives you some insight into the relationship between God and Jesus too, which is kind of cool. Because you get to see how Isaac and Abraham trust each other like that, how they're willing to do insane, weird things. And that's how Jesus and God know each other. They know each other in that way, where there's no doubts, there's no questions. I want you guys to think about that this week. The closeness that Jesus has with God. And then remember the fact that when he invites you into his family, he wants to adopt you. So that you can be a sibling to Jesus, one of God's kids. Think about that. He's inviting you into a relationship that's as close as Jesus has with God. That's pretty cool. Jesus is inviting you into a relationship where you can be as close to God as Jesus is to God. It's pretty cool. He wants you to be adopted in as a sibling of Jesus, a child of God. That would put you at the same position with Jesus. And you don't deserve it. I don't deserve it. Like, none of us do. But that's what he's inviting you into. That's pretty cool. So think on that this week. Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for your word. Thank you that you reveal such amazing truths to us. Help us to grow close to you, to find that trust for you like Isaac had for Abraham. Help us to really understand how much of a sacrifice Jesus made for us. To die the way he did, to die without deserving it. To really understand that level of love that you have for us every day. That we wouldn't go a day without remembering it, without thinking about it. Help us, Lord, to understand what it means to willingly lay down your life for another. So we can fully see the greatness and the glory of that love you have for us. Lord, we love you. We thank you for all you've done for us, and we thank you for all the grace and all the blessings you continue to pour on us. Bless these middle schoolers as they go. Help them to be a light into their world, into their little friend circles, the group of people they know. Help them to find courage like Abraham had, to speak up, to spread your love, and to spread your word. We love you, Jesus. We pray all these things in your name. Amen. I love you guys. Have a great rest of your Sunday. See you weekend.
On booking. I call her name. I call her bucket. Did I win?
Oh.
Yeah, we're gonna do 7 more
You've been exposed. The cops are after me. The cops are here for me. Your dad's here.
We're doing that just payment? But I asked you. Hello. How are you? There is it. I don't know what Sam is going on.
Yeah, Sam.
He mentioned it last night. Did he mention it again today?
Yeah.
I sent him a text. Ah, thank you for checking.
Yeah.
It says in the bulletin the date.
Yeah, it's February, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm planning on.
I'm like, here we go.
If the parents show up, I'll say hi, but I got no food. I got no agenda.
Listen, I didn't hear that last time. Okay. You must have got it in his head.
That's all right. Thank you for checking.
Yes.
You're in yesterday, right? Okay, so it's not.
Are you
Right, I just tried to
going to Costco?
That's a nice pink sweater.
Okay.